Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to go over some of the progress I made on my helmet. Starting off, here is the silicone mold for my panel. Just starting with the first half, put some Vaseline on it except for one of the sides. That way it's not two separate pieces that I'll have to align. It's actually just kind of a fold over flap that I can open up. And here's a cutaway for where I'm going to do the pour. Doing the same thing for the upper compartment panel. I just put in this jig. Here's the first half. And it's looking pretty good. Then I just tossed it back into the jig. Vaseline on 3 of the 4 sides. Same deal. Here's just a little flap. And yeah, it came out pretty good. Destroyed my original piece in the process, but no worries. The cast will come out pretty stiff. Once I was ready, I put everything into clamps and just filled it with smoothon onyx. Came out a little bit more stiff than the 65D. As you can see here, there's some minor defects on this back panel. I did end up making another silicone mold for the back panel. To some aspect, it's the same. The upper compartment piece came out pretty good, just a little bit of sanding to do. Here, I just did a test fit on my test helmet. Came out pretty good, was pretty happy with it. Made the modification to my helmet mold, so the compartments are a little bit shorter. Here is my first one. Came out really heavy, so I'm not going to use it. I'll have to sand it down in the future if I want to use it. The pink one here, I didn't add enough of the red dye, so it came out like super bright pink. No worries. There, I just went ahead and made a third cast. Had some minor defects, just filled it back in with the onyx and sanded it down. On this one, I went ahead and just cut the back panel off, and it was a little bit lighter, felt more comfortable with it. And as you can see, it's 2 different colors because I didn't add the correct amount of dye on the initial 65D outer cast. But I'm just going to paint it anyway, so it's not a big deal. Here, I'm just making the hole for the momentary switch. Just started off by drilling the hole, sizing up as appropriate, and then finishing off with a rotary file. And it was a perfect fit. The backside though, I had a little trouble with the nut because it's not perfectly even. I think I'll have to go back and sand it off just a little bit more, just so the nut seats a little bit better. Here I'm just rinsing off all the dust and anything else off of it. Kind of see the sheen on it. I might do a gloss coat on my final paint. Yeah, here's the bottom panel. The next step was to attach the bottom panel to the helmet. I got these little acrylic hinges from Amazon. Took me a really long time to get this nice and even, probably a couple hours. Once I got it kind of straightened out here, I had to take some excess off just to take into account the thickness of the hinge. About 1/8 of an inch off each side. Yeah, once I had everything sanded nice and even, I just drilled holes into it where the countersunk screws will go into. And here was just a kind of a visual with the power switch in place. Just want to make sure there's enough clearance. And yeah, I was ready to make the countersunk holes. So I just used this deburring tool. The acrylic was soft enough that I just kind of made the correct countersunk into the material. And then I just drilled the holes into the lower panel here. Didn't have to tap it or anything. I had a drill bit that was the perfect size for it. So yeah, here's a little test fit with the screws. And here is the hole. Just lines up perfectly. And went ahead and installed the hinge to the lower panel. And then attached it to the helmet. Yeah, I think it came out pretty good. Of course there is a gap and I'm trying to make this waterproof, but I might just have to add a little bit of a rubber seal around the perimeter with some glue. The next step was to add the latches to the helmet. I had forgotten where I had placed it on my test helmet, so I had placed it in parallel with the opening of the helmet, which I didn't really like, kind of seemed off, so I went back and filled the holes, and I did adjust it to be parallel with the lower line of the compartment. Here is the rubber sheet. Just kind of did a test fit of the upper lid. You can see there's a little bit of a gap on the corners. Here I'm just doing a seal test of the upper compartment. And then I noticed that the upper gap is a good 1/16 of an inch or so. I am a little worried that the water could seep in through there. But brought it back inside, wiped it clean, and took off the panel and the rubber sheet. And surprisingly, it stayed pretty dry in there. I think the water around the perimeter is just from me removing the panel. Once I was ready, I got these little 3mm inserts, thread inserts from Amazon. Just drill the holes to size and put them in. So yeah, here's just kind of a visual of what the compartments will look like on there. Once I had the upper panel installed, I started playing with the sides, just cutting these rubber sheets to size. Just should fit nice and snug. The panels had to be shaved down a little bit, sanded down to make it fit. Not an issue there. So here's just another test fit. Drilled out the holes for the screws. And here's just a test fit again. Just had to trim accordingly, and here's the panel install. Yeah, so far so good. I think I was ready to install the inserts, so just took everything back off. And with these, I actually drilled the holes a size up, because with the upper panel I had to kind of hammer them in, and it actually cracked the inside of the helmet, and I didn't want that to happen on these thinner areas. So it is a little bit loose, but once the screw is fully installed, it does flare out and gets held into place. Yeah, just put the thread insert on the tip of the screw and kind of just wiggle it in there. And then just put the rubber seal back into place. Put the panel back on. And put all screws in. Didn't want to be too rough putting the screws in, didn't want to blow out the thread inserts, which I accidentally did already on one of them. So yeah, I think it looks really good. Just went ahead and kind of did a visual here. Yep, and then here's all back panels installed. And now to do a seal check. Just take it back outside and pour water on it. Did a wipe down, just kind of get any excess water off. Upper compartment's still dry, nice and sealed. The side compartment, I think, came out pretty good as well. Kind of looked a little wet in there, but just the plastic, just kind of how it was cast. But yeah, stayed pretty nice and dry. So now I was ready to put everything back in. Starting off with the battery. After that, just attaching the distribution circuit into place, and of course this isn't the final place for these. I'll just have to adjust it accordingly to whatever fits. But yeah, this is kind of the setup I have for now. I'll have to solder some of the wires into place for the final install, but just a test fit. Put everything in there, put the compartment panels back on. So here's all the panels on. I'm not doing a seal test right now. Just wanted to kind of visually see how everything's looking. Just testing the LED here. In my next video, I'll finish sanding off some of the small defects, fill in all the holes, wash it really good, and then put the primer on and start the painting process. I think I might make it look similar to how this kind of looks, maybe a lighter kind of gray chin area with maybe a metallic black on the upper portion, maybe silver around the ears. Yeah, I think it's coming out kind of how I imagined it. Use the drop down with the switch. Here's the back panel off so I could install the side wires, side LED wires. Yeah, I think it came out pretty good. Alright, well that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.